Sua santidade da licença. Os autorização para as filas guarda de honra. Right the ball. 3. Include remarks.
Please rise.
Laudetur Jesus Christus. Praise be Jesus Christ, and welcome to this afternoon's broadcast of the Pope's Apostolic journey to East Timor, Timor-Leste. This afternoon we will be hearing the Holy Father as he addresses the political authorities, members of civil society, and members of the diplomatic corps in the presidential palace.
And civil society. Now, the speech of the President.
And we are listening to the speech of President Juan Ramos Horta, the President of the Democratic Republic of Timor-Leste. Your Holiness Pope Francis, ladies and gentlemen, today we welcome His Holiness Pope Francis on an historic visit that takes place in a particularly significant year for our people and our nation, as we mark various important milestones that mark the trajectory of Timor-Leste. On April 25th, 2024, we celebrate with our brothers and sisters in Portugal the 50th anniversary of the Carnation Revolution, a noble revolution without hatred, persecution, or revenge. It was a humanist revolution that opened the doors to peace and democracy in Portugal and in all of Portugal's colonial territories. We are celebrating the 25th anniversary of the popular consultation, mediated and organized by the UN on August 30th, 1999. The UN Secretary General, our dear friend Antonio Guterres, who was Prime Minister of Portugal in the hot and dangerous period of 1999, was with us. Antonio Guterres showed his courage, integrity, humanist convictions, and with his diplomatic leadership contributed decisively to the final positive outcome. On September 15th, 2024, we will mark the 25th anniversary of the UN Security Council's approval of the Interfet mission, allowing the necessary foundations to be laid for the establishment of the United Nations Transitional Administration in East Timor. On October 12th, 2024, we will celebrate the 35th anniversary of the visit of the Holy Father, St. John Paul II, to Timor-Leste, a visit to put the cause of Timor-Leste's self-determination on the global agenda. 35 years on from that papal visit, it is with great joy that we now welcome His Holiness Pope Francis. All sovereign bodies, national authorities, religious institutions, civil society organizations, lay people, and Timorese and foreigners of all faiths and religious practices unite in welcoming Your Holiness with veneration. We express our gratitude to the Holy Father for making this visit, blessing our land with His presence. We ask God to continue to hear our prayers, granting the Holy Father great health so that He can continue to inspire and guide humanity along the paths of peace and human fraternity. The National Parliament voted unanimously to adopt the Declaration on Human Fraternity, a guiding document for all humanity, co-authored by His Holiness Pope Francis and Professor Dr. Ahmed Tayeb, the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar in Cairo, solemnly signed on February 4th, 2019 in Abu Dhabi, during Your Holiness's historic visit to the Arab Peninsula. In the meantime, our Ministry of Education is developing pedagogical initiatives to integrate the Declaration into national education curriculum.
Introduzindo a disciplina de fraternidade humana, moral e ética, inspirada nos ensinamentos de Sua Santidade o Papa Francisco e do grande imã de Al-Azhar Cairo, professor Dr. Ahmad Tayeb, para a promoção da paz mundial e convivência harmoniosa num ambiente de diversidade social. Deixo aqui expresso o meu profundo
I'd like to express my deep appreciation to His Eminence, Don Virgilio Cardinal do Carmo da Silva, SDB, Metropolitan Archbishop of Dili, the bishops of the Timorese Episcopal Conference, His Excellency Monsignor Marco Sprizzi, Chargé d'Affaires of the Apostolic Nunciature, and all the members of the dioceses, religious, lay people, and believers, for your tireless work, dedication, spirit of mission, and sacrifice. This appreciation is also extended to all the members of the government, led by His Excellency Prime Minister Kairala Zenana Gushmal, whose teamwork and coordination with the representatives of the Church and Timorese civil society have made it possible to realize this important mission that unites us. A special word to the families, especially the young people, women and men, children and teenagers, for taking an active part in the various events in a dignified, respectful, and exemplary manner. Your Holiness' visit comes at a crucial time for our collective future, not only in our country, but also on a global level. He brings a message of peace, reconciliation, human fraternity, and hope, so necessary in an increasingly troubled world in which cold hearts have replaced dialogue and peace. His Holiness's message resonates deeply in the hearts of all, especially those world and regional leaders who bear significant responsibilities for our shared security. Our hope resonates with the victims of armed conflicts around the world, Ukraine, Palestine, Sudan, Yemen, Syria, Congo, or in our own region, in particular in Myanmar and in the Korean Peninsula. We pray for an end to hostilities and a return to peace, renewing the faith of women, children, the elderly, and the most vulnerable, those who suffer most from global disharmony. We fight against multidimensional poverty, hunger, and food insecurity, maternal and child malnutrition, violence of all kinds, different forms of exclusion, and social marginalization. Newborns, children, and young people have the right to a better world, where they can develop their potential in a peaceful, dignified, and balanced family environment. With the teachings of His Holiness Pope Francis, we will be inspired to build a common home that is more tolerant and peaceful, inclusive, and fraternal. May His enlightened words of wisdom and compassion guide and strengthen us on our journey. Thank you very much. Thank you, Your Holiness. May God bless us. The welcoming address of President Juan Ramos Huerta, the President of East Timor, Timor-Leste. And now the words of our Holy Father, Pope Francis.
Señor Presidente, señor Primer Ministro, distinguidos miembros del Gobierno y del cuerpo diplomático, señor Cardenal, señores obispos, representantes de la sociedad civil, señor señoras y señores.
Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister, distinguished members of the government and diplomatic corps, representatives of civil society, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for the kind and joyful welcome to this beautiful country of Timor-Leste. I'm grateful to the President, Mr. Jose Ramos Horta, for his kind words of welcome.
Asia y Oceania se rozan y en cierto sentido se encuentran con Europa, lejana geográficamente, pero cercana por el papel que ha tenido en estas latitudes durante los últimos 5 siglos. No quiero hablar de los piratas holandeses. De hecho, los primeros...
In this place, Asia and Oceania touch each other. In a certain sense, they also encounter Europe, which, though it's geographically distant, seems closer due to the role it has had in this area over the past 5 centuries. Indeed, the first Dominican missionaries arrived here from Portugal in the 16th century, bringing with them the Catholic faith and the Portuguese language. Today, both Portuguese and Tetum are the 2 official languages of the country. Christianity born in Asia arrived at these far reaches of the continent through European missionaries, testifying to its universal vocation and ability to harmonize with even the most diverse cultures, which find a new coalescence that is both higher and more profound when encountering the gospel.
Y ahí los diversos ritos orientales de los diversos pueblos, porque una de las dimensiones importantes del cristianismo es la enculturación de la fe. Y a la vez evangeliza las culturas. Este binomio para la vida cristiana es importante, enculturación de la fe y evangelización de la cultura. No es una fe ideológica, es una fe enraizada en las culturas. Esta tierra tan adornada de montañas, selvas y llanuras, rodeada de un mar que es maravilloso por lo que pude ver, rica en tanta cosa, tantos frutos, maderas. Con todo, esta tierra ha atravesado en su pasado presente una fase dolorosa, experimentando las convulsiones y la violencia que suelen producirse cuando un pueblo se lanza en busca de su plena independencia y esa búsqueda de autonomía es negada o frustrada. Desde el 28 de noviembre de 1975 hasta el 20 de mayo de 2002, es decir, desde la declaración de la independencia.
From November 28, 1975 until May 20th, 2002, that is, from the date independence was declared until it was definitively restored, Timor-Leste endured its greatest suffering and trial. Yet the country has been able to rise again, finding a path to peace and the beginning of a new phase of development, of improved living conditions, and of appreciation on all levels of the unspoiled splendor of this land and its natural and human resources. We give thanks to the Lord, since you never lost hope while going through such a dramatic period of your history. And after dark and difficult days, a dawn of peace and freedom has finally arrived.
Para alcanzar estas importantes metas, les ha sido de ayuda el estar arraigados en la fe.
Your rootedness in the Catholic faith has greatly helped in reaching these important goals. St. John Paul II emphasized this during his visit to your country in 1989. In his homily in Tachitolu, the Pope recalled that the Catholics of Timor-Leste have a tradition in which family life, education, and social customs are deeply rooted in the gospel. A tradition imbued with the teachings and spirit of the Beatitudes, one of humble trust in God, of mercy and forgiveness, and when necessary, of patient suffering in time of trial.
Son un pueblo sufrido, pero sabio en el sufrimiento. A este propósito, quisiera recordar y elogiar.
In this regard, I wish in particular to recall and commend your assiduous efforts to achieve full reconciliation with your brothers and sisters in Indonesia, an attitude that found its first and purest source in the teachings of the gospel. You remained firm in hope, even amid affliction, and thanks to the character of your people and your faith, you have turned sorrow into joy. May the Lord grant that in other conflicts in various parts of the world, the desire for peace and purification of memory may also prevail, in order to bind wounds and replace hatred with reconciliation and opposition with cooperation. And for that reason, I request a certain purification of memory.
Es lindo hablar de la política de la mano tendida. Y es muy sabia. Que no es tonta, no. Porque cuando la mano tendida se ve traicionada, sabe pelear, sabe llevar adelante las cosas. También es un motivo de reconocimiento y de gratitud.
Another praiseworthy event took place when, on the 20th anniversary of the country's independence, you incorporated as a national document the Declaration on Human Fraternity, which I signed together with the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar in Abu Dhabi. You've done this so that, as the Declaration itself calls for, it can be adopted and included in school curricula. Indeed, the educational process is fundamental.
efectivamente representados en ella y sean plenamente idóneos.
At the same time, I urge you to continue with renewed confidence in the prudent establishment and consolidation of the institutions of your republic, so the citizens can feel that they are truly represented and that the institutions are properly equipped to serve the people of Timor-Leste. Now a new horizon has indeed opened before you, cleared of dark clouds, but with new challenges to face and new problems to solve. That's why I want to say, may the faith which is enlightened and sustained you in the past continue to inspire your present and future. And he says in Portuguese, que a vossa fé seja a vossa cultura. May your faith be your culture. That is to say, may it inspire principles, projects, and choices in conformity with the gospel. On the various current issues, I think of the phenomenon of emigration, which is always an indication, always, of an insufficient or inadequate appreciation of resources, as well as the difficulty to provide everyone with a job that offers a fair salary and guarantees families an income corresponding to their basic needs. And it's not simply an internal phenomenon. In Italy, there's immigration from the south to the north.
Pienso también en la pobreza presente en muchas zonas rurales.
I think, too, of the poverty present in so many rural areas and the subsequent need for collective and wide-ranging action involving manifold efforts and leaders from all sectors, civil, religious, social, to remedy it and to offer viable alternatives to emigration. Moreover, I think of what can be considered social scourges, such as the excessive use of alcohol. Please be attentive to this, so that young people can get out of this trap. And then there's the formation of gangs by young people. These gang members are trained in martial arts, but instead of using this knowledge in the service of the defenseless, they use it as an opportunity to showcase the fleeting and harmful power of violence. Let us not forget that these children and adolescents have their dignity violated. This is rising throughout the world. In response, we are all called to do everything possible to prevent every kind of abuse and guarantee a healthy and peaceful childhood for all young people. In order to solve these problems and to achieve the optimal management of the country's natural resources, primarily oil and gas reserves, which could offer unprecedented possibilities for development, it is essential to prepare properly and provide appropriate training to those who will be called upon to be the country's leaders in the not-too-distant future. They will then have at their disposal all the necessary tools to develop a far-reaching plan focused exclusively on the common good. The Church offers her social doctrine as the foundation for such a formative process. It constitutes an indispensable and trustworthy pillar on which to build various approaches, and for verifying whether they truly favor integral development or are instead obstacles, producing unacceptable inequalities and a large number of people who are discarded or left on the margins.
La doctrina social de la Iglesia no es una ideología.
The social doctrine of the Church is not an ideology, but is based on fraternity. It aims at the development of the people. Nevertheless, while there is no shortage of problems, as is the case with every people in every age, I invite you to remain confident and to keep a hopeful gaze toward the future.
Y hay una cosa que yo se las quisiera decir que no está en el discurso, porque la llevo muy adentro, ¿no? Ese es un país lindo, pero ¿qué es lo mejor que tiene este país? El pueblo.
What is best about this people, this country, the people?
Amen a su pueblo. Hagan crecer ese pueblo.
Take care of your people.
Es maravilloso.
The people is wonderful, wonderful.
Las pocas horas que estuve se ve cómo un pueblo se expresa. Y el pueblo de ustedes se expresa con dignidad y con alegría. Es un pueblo alegre. Ustedes son un pueblo joven, no en razón de su cultura y por
You are a young people.
que son muy antiguos, sino porque
I'm not referring to your culture and history, which are in fact ancient, but to the fact that about 65% of Timor-Leste population is under the age of 30.
la edad media es de 46 años y 48 años. Y ustedes, el 65% tiene menos de 30 años. Lo cual podemos pensar que la edad media será alrededor de los 30 años, un poco menos. Es una riqueza esa. Esta cifra nos dice que
This is a form of richness, of wealth. The statistic tells us that the first area for you to invest in is education, in the family and in the schools.
creo que hay varias ya universidades.
And in education that puts children and young people at the center. There are many universities that go forward.
Es un ritmo de crecimiento muy grande, ¿no? Inviertan en la educación en la familia y en la educación en la escuela.
Invest in education in the family and in the schools.
Y promuevan su dignidad. Yo me quedé feliz viendo a los chicos sonreír con esos dientes blancos.
This is an education that puts children and young people at the center and promotes their dignity.
La proyección hacia el futuro, la valentía y el ingenio típico de los jóvenes, unido a la experiencia y a la sabiduría de los mayores, forman una mezcla experiencial de conocimientos e impulsos generosos hasta mañana. Y aquí me permito hacer un consejo.
And allow me to offer some advice.
El encuentro de niños y abuelos provoca sabiduría.
Oh, he's asking for an encounter between young people and their grandparents. Think about this. This enthusiasm and wisdom are a great resource and do not allow for passivity, much less pessimism. I'm almost done. The Catholic Church, her social doctrine, institutions that provide assistance and charity to the needy, and educational and healthcare institutions are at the service of all and are also a valuable resource, enabling everyone to look to the future with confidence and hope. In this regard, recognition should be given to the fact that the Church's commitment to the common good can rely on the cooperation and support of the state within the framework of the cordial relations that have developed between the Holy See and the Democratic Republic of Timor-Leste, and is reflected in the agreement between the parties that entered into force on March 3rd, 2016. Timor-Leste, which has been able to face times of great tribulation with patient determination and heroism, thrives today as a peaceful and democratic country, committed to building a society of solidarity and fraternity, developing peaceful relations with its neighbors and the international community. Looking at your recent past and what has been accomplished so far, there's reason to be confident that your nation will likewise be able to face intelligently and creatively the difficulties and problems of today. Confiding in the wisdom of the people. And trust Timor-Leste and all its people to the protection of the Immaculate Conception, Heavenly Patroness, invoked under the title of Virgen de Tara. May she accompany you and help you always in your mission to build a free, democratic, and united country where no one feels excluded and everyone can live in peace and dignity.
Deus abençoe Timor-Leste, Maromag, Haraik, Bansao, Tapa, Timor, Lorosai.
And speaking in the local language, she says, may God bless Timor-Leste. And that was the Pope's address to political leaders, representatives of civil society, members of the diplomatic corps, in an encounter that included the president of Timor-Leste, and the Pope offering a series of gifts, including gold medals from his pontificate and large cast of the medal of this voyage, which included in the center an image of Our Lady standing and crowned, holding in her arms the child Jesus, who's holding a globe in his left hand. At the top left of the statue, at the top left of the coin is an image of the statue of the Merlion of Singapore. On the top right, bird of paradise from Papua New Guinea. In the bottom left, the Garuda of Indonesia, and in the bottom right, an image of an indigenous person from Timor-Leste. The composition celebrates the human aspect and natural aspect of these various countries and is illuminated at the top by the cross and the light of God. And around the edge of this large cast of the medal for the journey is the Latin description of the journey with the date and the year in the bottom. And the gift that the Holy Father has offered to the President of Timor-Leste, and as the meeting here draws to close, the Holy Father will be taking a series of photographs with various dignitaries being arranged now. This was the first major event of the Pope's visit to Timor-Leste. He arrived earlier this morning. Earlier today, I should say, he arrived a little after 2 o'clock this afternoon, local time. And after the official welcome, he traveled to the presidential palace, where there was a greeting ceremony, and he had an opportunity to visit with the President of the Republic for a courtesy visit at the presidential palace.
Please rise.
And was able to speak privately with President Jose Manuel Ramos Horta, the president, and now has given his first address in Timor-Leste. Timor-Leste is the third stage of his four-nation apostolic journey that thus far has taken him to neighboring Indonesia, and the last couple of days the Pope has been in Papua New Guinea. And now in Timor-Leste, his final stop will be in the country of Singapore. And a round of applause for the Holy Father as he leaves the stage. And will be traveling very soon to the Apostolic Nunciature, where he will have dinner and will complete his first day in Timor-Leste.
Ladies and gentlemen,
so it has been
once the protocol is informed us, we'll invite us to go to cocktail very soon.
It has been a long journey thus far, with the long airplane trip to Southeast Asia, to Indonesia, and then to the several countries that he has visited so far. As he is leaving the hall, the Holy Father is meeting with various dignitaries, and as is usual, is offering a little present, usually a rosary, for those who are able to meet with the Pope and say a word of greeting to him. And as you can imagine, it's a little hectic, with many people hoping to speak with and greet the Holy Father. A few words about the rest of our schedule. As we mentioned, this is the first major event with a public discourse for the Pope's stop here in Timor-Leste. Tomorrow he has a full day ahead of him. In the morning he will go to the Cathedral of the Immaculate Conception, where he will meet with bishops, priests, deacons, consecrated men and women, seminarians, and catechists. and will address them. Later in the morning, he'll have a private encounter with members of the Society of Jesus, the Jesuits, the order that he himself came from. And continuing tomorrow, he will celebrate Holy Mass, the votive Mass of the Blessed Virgin Mary the Queen, which will be celebrated in Portuguese at the Esplanade of Tachitulo. That will take place tomorrow afternoon at 4:30 local time, 9:30 in the morning, Rome time. And of course, each of those public events, the meeting with clergy, religious catechists in the morning at the cathedral, and the solemn mass tomorrow afternoon at Tachitolu will be broadcast live by Vatican Radio. And we do invite you to join us tomorrow for those various events. I would like to thank too all of the different partner organizations that join us and collaborate with us in the broadcast, including EWTN TV, Catholic Faith Network in America, Shalom World TV, Shalom TV India and Sunday Shalom, Catholic TV, and Luminous Radio. As we mentioned, the Holy Father has been the last few days in Papua New Guinea. He traveled this morning from Port Moresby to Dili, the capital of Timor-Leste. Timor-Leste is the only nation on this particular journey that is majority Catholic, and in fact, Catholics here are the overwhelming majority. At the airport, Pope Francis was met by President José Manuel Ramos Horta and Prime Minister Janana Gusmao, along with various delegations and a number of people in traditional attire representing the 14 municipalities of the country. And two young girls offered the Holy Father a traditional Timorese scarf, which they put around his neck. That was at the beginning of the day. And along the way, the Pope traveled via the Pope Mobile from the airport to the Apostolic Nunciature, where he will be staying. He was able to take a short rest before heading here to the Presidential Palace for the official welcoming ceremony and his first official address. Pope Francis is, in fact, the second pontiff to visit Timor-Leste after Pope St. John Paul II, as was mentioned by Pope Francis and also by the President of Timor-Leste. John Paul II was here in October of 1989, during the time that the country was occupied by Indonesia. Pope Francis is thus the first pope to have visited Timor-Leste since the country gained full independence from Indonesia in 2002. The central theme for this visit, which the Pope repeated in his address, "May your faith be your culture," and underscores the ongoing importance of the faith for the Timorese people, who are actively supported by the Church during their struggle for freedom from Indonesian rule. As we mentioned, one of the highlights of the visit will be the Mass in the Tachi Tolu Esplanade in Dili tomorrow afternoon. That is Tuesday, September 10th, where the Pope is expected to celebrate the Mass with some 700,000 people, including from neighboring Indonesia and from Australia, as well as from other parts of the region. The Holy Father will be here until September 11th, and during his visit he'll also be able to visit with children with disabilities, speak with the local clergy, as we mentioned, and meet with his fellow Jesuits. And on the final day, there will be a meeting with some 4,000 Timorese young people. So a very full official schedule for the meeting and the visit here to Timor-Leste. And we do invite you to follow along on our Vatican News web portal at www.vaticannews.va. And on our Vatican News web portal, you'll be able to read stories about all of the events. We have several of our journalists in Timor-Leste and accompanying the Pope on the various stages of this journey, with Linda Bordoni and Claudia Torres providing insight and commentary along the way for English speakers, along with a number of other journalists from Vatican Radio. So we thank them for their hard work and for their insightful commentary and reporting from the Pope's visit. And the Holy Father is continuing to meet with people who are surrounding him here as he leaves the presidential palace with the President of East Timor. And unfortunately, we don't have great sound quality from the audio. However, for those of you watching on television, you can see that the Holy Father is still meeting with people here. And we imagine he will try, as is usually the case, he tries to meet with as many people as possible, at least to shake their hands or get a selfie with them. And will be traveling to the Apostolic Nunciature this evening, when he will conclude his journey for the day, before an early start tomorrow, where he will, as we said, have Mass. Tomorrow will be the big Mass for Timor-Leste. In the morning, he will be meeting first with children with disabilities at the Hermes Alma School. That event is taking place at 8:35 tomorrow morning in Timor-Leste, with the time difference that will begin at 1:35 Rome time. The Hermas Ama School is run by the Congregation of Alma Sisters, and this is the school he will be going to tomorrow morning, and is operated for the most disadvantaged children, those who have been diagnosed with physical and mental disabilities. And the institution furnishes therapy for the children and cares for them, hoping to better their condition, as it were, and allow them to participate in local activities. So that will be the Holy Father's first visit tomorrow morning. We do invite you to join us for that event. And the Pope is now departing in the Pope Mobile.
Un minuto e finiamo. Grazie.
And with the Pope's departure, we are about ready for the close of this particular event. Again, the Pope's first major event here in Dili in Timor-Leste. Thank you all for joining us. Thanks to our partner stations, once again, including EWTN TV, Catholic Faith Network in America, Shalom World TV, Shalom TV India and Sunday Shalom, Catholic TV, and Luminous Radio India. Thanks to our producers and technicians in the studio. My name is Christopher Wells. It's been a very great pleasure providing the commentary for this event. And we conclude, as always, praised be Jesus Christ. Laudetur Jesus Christus.
"10 years of sharing the peace of Christ." Shalom World, God's own channel.
I was so desperate to be loved.
She is a flight attendant.